I'll go off camera when you're going. Okay, cool. I'll explain that. And welcome to Survivor LCA Season 6 Beach Cities Final Tribal Council, where we have our final three of Andy, Evan, and Morgan here and ready to battle it out for the win of this season. Only one of them can be crowned sole survivor. We are joined by most of our jury. Hopefully, we get the rest on here as we go through the night. Um, I was explaining to them, and I'll explain to the viewers. Uh, as the winner of Final Immunity, Andy got to determine the order for opening speeches. That order will be reversed for closing. In their opening speeches, each finalist will have 7 minutes. I will turn my camera off while you're talking, but when you have 1 minute left, I'll come back on and give you like a one. And then I will stop you. Please stop talking when I come back to cut you off. Um, yeah, so 7 minutes for opening. Each juror gets 10 minutes to address the final three, however they wish to spend those 10 minutes. And then each finalist, not each juror, I'm not giving them any more time. Each finalist will have 3 more minutes for a closing speech. All right. Andy, Evan, Morgan, are you all ready? All righty. So Andy determined the order for opening, and it will be Andy will be going first, followed by Morgan, then Evan. And then in closing, Evan will go first, followed by Morgan, and Andy. So without further ado, give me a second to get to a stopwatch. Which also can Jeremy or Gabe, can one of you, or Dylan, any of you, Carly, any of you, try to contact the other jurors we're missing?
Yes.
Since I have to watch the stopwatch or the timer. All right. 7 minute timer is ready to go. So I will hit start when you say your first word, Andy. Good luck, guys.
Okay, well, hello, Divas. I want to start off by saying thank you so much to the hosting team for putting together such an amazing, phenomenal season. And of course, I want to say thank you to every single person in the cast. I really genuinely enjoyed my time in this game, and every single person here has made this such a brilliant, amazing, phenomenal game. So I just wanted to start with that. So let's take it back to the beginning of this season, almost a month ago. And for me, as I started strategically, it was kind of business as usual. I was like, I'll get in our tribes. I'll, do pretty okay in the challenges. Make some besties, maybe find myself in a couple alliances. Hee hee ha ha. It is what it is. We'll see how the game takes us. But everything changed during that Fuse Tribal cam vote, where even though I was on the right side of that vote, I soon realized later in the aftermath of it that a good majority of the people in the game were lying to me the entire time, and I really didn't know a lot of what was going on. And so I realized I had been severely underestimating how hard everybody in this game was playing, which meant I had to kind of step it up and put pedal to the metal. So from that moment on is really when I feel my game kicked into high gear. And that started with it making my personal mission to go on as many missions as possible. I saw the pattern of how missions were selected earlier in the season. And so I kind of tailored my approach to make sure I got to go on as many as I could. And I was successful. I went on 3 kind of mid to late game missions in the late pre-merge, post-merge, and I won all 3 of those missions, earning myself my safety with a little bit of power, the merge idol, which was good till final 5, that I ended up not needing to use. It's sitting in my confessional, and then the double vote steal. However, with these advantages, I felt that, of course, I'm going to get a reputation for somebody that has a lot of advantages. And as we move into the merge, my advantage pool actually only got bigger because before he left, Curtis gave me his advantage / idol nullifier. So I actually had 4 advantages going into the Aaron elimination round, which made me advantage-wise, I feel the most powerful player in this merge tribe. However, I wanted to use these advantages not just as ways to brute force my way through rounds. I wanted to use them as pieces of info I could give to my allies to prove my trust and loyalty to them. And I kind of disseminated little bits and bobs throughout the game to really make people feel comfortable with me. An example of this is I told Evan and only Evan that the safety without power came with a vote block. And I told him, I'm not around for what would become the Kundy round. I trust you, you play, you tell me where to play it. And that's kind of how the beginning of this merge went down for me. After the Kundi vote, going into that weekend, I knew that the best thing for my game was getting to vote out coach. I felt that eliminating coach would really free up a lot of my social game and give me a lot more access to a lot more people. But I also knew that my name was probably still out there from all the advantages that people thought I had. And so to ensure that this would be seen as an offensive move rather than a defensive move, I put all of my effort into winning that character recreation challenge over the weekend going into the final 9, which I ended up winning, ensuring that my name was off the table so I could focus solely on making sure that this move landed. I knew that Michael, Fred, and John would all be down to vote coach since they essentially had voted him the last round. And I, along with Trisha, flipped at that tribal, voting coach out of the game. Now, at this point, I really felt that I should potentially be the number one target for a lot of people in this tribe. I was kind of playing all sides. I still had these heavy pockets, but that really wasn't the case. Due to my social connections, Morgan, Evan, Amber all still really wanted to play with me, even though I had lied to them just the previous round. In fact, a chat was made with the three of us that night after Coach was voted out. Again, I think showing that I was able to make friends with people even when I didn't vote with them per se. This little chat of three kind of became the genesis of what would become the final 5 in the game, the Kindergarten Alliance, which was myself, Trisha, Evan, Morgan, and Amber. And again, that alliance was really brought together because I was able to share information about my advantage. When I told them about the double steal vote, it instantly made that group of 5 feel really comfortable that we would be able to split the vote on John and Michael. And I gave kind of that group of 5 a reason to stick together and for us not to turn on each other. And that glue that I formed stuck together through the rest of that double night. At the final 7 vote, that's really when my threat level was at an all-time high. Fred and Schaefer spent the entire night trying to convince people to flip. And to be honest, that really would become the last time that I was eligible to be voted out, but also the time when I was in reality the most vulnerable. Because during the final 8 to final 6, I actually didn't even have my idol. I had given it to Trisha for safekeeping, both to prove to her that I was loyal to go to the end with her, but also to protect myself from a potential knowledge's power, because I wasn't sure what John's final advantage was at that point. And so at that final 7, when I was the most vulnerable, still that glue that I had formed, those social bonds I had created, kept me safe at that very key moment in the game. After the double, we move into kind of that last stage of the game. And now I know that my threat level again is at this all-time high. And so I really feel that challenges is where I can really shine, which I had had a reputation for earlier on. I was getting tribal council questions pre-merge about my challenge threat level. And so I focused a lot on challenges and knowing that winning them was going to become key. I knew that I could win the trivia challenge because I've been studying all week for it because I knew it was always the final 5 challenge or the second to last challenge in LCA. And my plan at 5 was to win immunity at 5 and play my idol on Trisha, ensuring that her and I both got the final 4, kind of giving me my best shot to make it through whatever final 4 had in store for me with this Kindergarten Alliance of 5. Unfortunately, Trisha was my first blindside of the season, which I didn't see it coming that she was going to essentially pull herself from the game, which in turn turned the final 4 round for me, unfortunately, into a do or die challenge situation. But like I had in every other challenge previous in the season, when I knew my neck was on the line, I pulled it together. I won out. My score was higher than everybody else's combined, even if you, I think, multiplied it by 2 or 3. And I did what I had to do to get myself sitting here and play a game that I'm strong, that I'm proud of, and I feel is strong. And I'm excited to answer all of your questions tonight.
All right, thank you, Andy. Morgan, when you start talking, I will start your time.
Okay, so to start off, I just want to say thank you to all the hosts and the amazing players. I started this game way back in season 1, and that was one of my first games I ever played. So I just feel how proud. I feel proud of how much I've grown since then. It's been like a really interesting journey. Um, so I also want to acknowledge the 2 other amazing players sitting here because you guys both played such an amazing game. Like there's no doubt about it. And I'm super honored to be sitting here next to you guys. This is a strong final 3. And I feel like that doesn't always happen in games. So into my game. even before I started the game, I was really thinking about what kind of game I wanted to play. I knew I wanted to play a very strategic game this time because usually I play like a very nicey go with the flow type of game. But I came into this game knowing that I wanted to be strategic. For me, pre-merge was all about really starting to develop and solidify my relationships with the people I wanted to work with throughout the course of the game. And as we saw with the Dylan and Anthony votes, staying active in this game was super important early on. So I made sure I stayed super active, and I was giving it my all from the very start. There was no like me just like going with the flow. I was playing from the very beginning. I began doing that by solidifying my relationship with Michael and Molly, who were my very first alliance in the game. And these were my Jurassic Park members. So I already knew I wanted to work with them, while also solidifying myself in several other alliances that consisted of mostly every fave in the game. This was kind of like my discovery period where I was getting myself good in with everyone, but also sussing out who I could work with long term in the game. This is when Amber, Kundi, and Fred really started to shine through to me as people I wanted to work with long term. When we first merged to the Garnet tribe, I knew that this was the time I really had to make connections with the fans in hopes to create a cross tribal alliance later on into the game. This is the time when I started getting very close to Evan, Coach, and Chase, and I knew I wanted to work with them down the line. Unfortunately, it didn't work out with Chase, but I do really wish it would have. Because of the connections that I made up until this point, I almost immediately knew about the group of 7 that was being formed. And also I gained a lot of information during that time as well, because I had so many great connections with people. Next, we swapped onto different tribes, and I was voted into the mission, which is another testament to my social expertise in the game. And also, this is the chance when I feel like I actually got to connect with John, and we started talking more game together, and we started playing together, and he became a good ally for at least the next several rounds of the game for me. Now Now comes to merge when I really knew I needed to start ramping up my game and making some bigger strategic moves that would really set me apart at FTC, but also moves that I can make to also control my threat level in the game. And I don't hold like a bunch of stock into challenge wins, but in winning touchy subjects, I was super, super proud of that, because touchy subjects is the epitome of showing that you have a pulse on the game, and also the social and strategic work I put into this game. During that time, I was voted closest ally, who's the most manipulative, who you could trust most with your life, who surprised you the most, and also who actually has control of the game. When there was a choice between going to Chops or not, I immediately knew I wanted to go to Chops, but I let the poll kind of linger in there to generate some conversation, to see where people are at, and to gain trust on both sides of the group. When I came into the game with a set strategy and knew when to throw questions to avoid causing bad relationships, but I also knew that the game well enough to start getting answers correct as soon as I wanted to. I didn't receive a chop for about the first 3/4 of the game, until there were only a few of us left. Even after winning the comp, getting named as a huge threat because of my answers, and then getting called out by Kundi as a huge threat, I was able to once again diminish the target on my back while continuing to make strong moves. This is also when I truly decided who I wanted to work with and began to form that alliance. I was super careful with talking about it to each person separately and making sure they all felt comfortable with each other, so I can guarantee a strong group of 4. And I knew I wanted it to be 2 fans and 2 faves, and thus formed the Fusion 4 of me, Evan, Amber, and Coach. This alliance had their hands in every single pot, and we would go out to our little corners of the game, and then we come back and bring each other information. And without many of you knowing it, this alliance drove many of the votes. When Coach was voted out, I can honestly say that I was shocked. And that was the first and only time in the game that I was not on the right side of the votes. I was feeling super low and on the outs because I was now in the clear minority, but I made a plan with the other fusions, that was Amber and Evan at the time, to pull Trisha and Andy back in, and this is when we formed the kindergarten. which would take over the game to vote out John, Fred, and Michael back to back and put me back in a position of power within the game. Even within my place in the kindergarten, I made sure that I was in the majority with Evan and Amber. Sorry. The Final Four Tribal, I felt like, was an amazing culmination of my social strategy and overall grasp of the game. Amber had already told us that she was going to self-vote during the game, which wasn't common knowledge to all of us. But, okay, she just showed how much she valued Evan and I in that moment, which is a gesture I'll never forget. During Tribal, Amber whispered to me that she was going to vote for me, and I was able to convince her in that moment not to do that, because if she was going to do that, Andy was going to do that. And I know it would take me to fire making. I wasn't scared of going to fire making, but I just didn't think that I needed it to sum up my game. And so in that moment, Amber put her vote on to Evan, making it a 2-1-1, and this left Andy on the wrong side of the vote for this vote and the vote previously. So in summary, I feel like I played a great social game with information coming in from almost every single angle. I worked closely with almost all of the jury members. I kept my target small while still making big moves. And also, if you guys are all wondering why I didn't vote John, Michael, and
All
Fred,
right, time, Morgan.
ask about it.
All righty. Over to Evan whenever you're ready, Evan.
Okay. So hi everyone. I'm excited to be here. It's been such a fun game and I'm excited to talk about it. And even just hearing the other two's perspective on things is really enlightening, and I'm excited to get into my game. So when the game started, I initially felt like I was actually having a bit of a hard time connecting with people. It seemed like, there wasn't a lot of game talk. And with the first two votes kind of mainly being due to inactivity, it didn't leave me with a great feeling. The main people that I felt good with initially were Coach and Andy. And I wanted to try to keep them close, especially when we went into the first merge. There was a lot of people, there was a lot going on, and I wanted to use that as a time to kind of strengthen my connections. But this was also around where Coach and I had realized that whatever was going on with the fans tribe, we were not in their best interest. And we wanted to make a move and take out a bigger player like Cameron. And I wanted to use this to also try to strengthen some relationships with fans. So I tried to reach out to every single person, and the person that stuck out to me the most was Morgan. And her and I were able to have really good game talks right off the bat. It was more open than I was able to be with anybody else in the game so far. And it also seems like there could be something put together with her coach and I. So I was really focusing on using that to make connections strong and getting out somebody who, when the narrative of the fans versus faves was still going on, it was risky to send Cam out, but I made sure to be a part of it because I knew that making a big move like that and showing that I am willing to play the game with an open mind would be huge for my game. And going into the swap, I was in a really good position. It was clear that the fans on my swap tribe wanted to stay strong. And we had our little Rhodonite group, which was the 5 fans. And then right off the bat, Coach and I decided that we needed to expand and really talk with the other faves, Aaron and Amber on the tribe. And I also had a group with Aaron, Amber, and Coach. So going into the swap, we could really kind of decide whatever we wanted to do. And when I found out that it seemed like Molly was in the majority on the fan side, and the people that she was working with weren't really people that I had connected super well with in the first merge, I tried really hard to get the votes onto her so that I could strengthen my position and have sway in both sides. And going into the merge, I was able to keep those relationships strong. I felt super close with Coach. I felt really good with Andy and Trisha. I was able to reconnect with Morgan and pick up exactly where we had left off. And I also felt really strong with Amber and Aaron for a little while. And going into the merge, the first two rounds were kind of people that weren't around. Well, Chase wasn't around, and then everybody saw Curtis as someone who was causing chaos. So I used those rounds to really make sure that the people that I was with knew that they could trust me, and that was a big part of my strategy, was making sure that every single person I was close with, I wanted them to think that I was their number one. And when the Aaron vote happened, I think she was a huge threat. And when Fred had handed his idol to her, as much as I really liked Aaron and wanted to work with her in this game, I knew that I was never going to be a priority above Fred. And that was really, her going was what started the chain reaction of big moves in the jury. And the Cundy vote is when I think I really came to shine that round. Not only was a new alliance formed, the Fusion Four, like Morgan mentioned, with me, me, Morgan, Amber, and Coach, at that time. So I was able to, oh my gosh, pressure. But yeah, going into the Cundy vote, I was able to basically make sure that the vote was going to stay on Kundi. Andy told me about his advantage, so I knew I had the ability to block whoever's vote that I wanted to that round. And I wanted to make sure that he felt good with me. And there was a lot of sway that night. There were a lot of lies that Kundi and a few of the other people that were in his alliance were throwing around. And I needed to make sure that the Fusion Force stayed strong on Kundi, because at one point, everybody was ready to flip to Trisha. And without my persistence, I knew that I needed Trisha in this game. And I was not going to let the people that I was working with take out somebody that was going to be a number for me down the line. So I was very persistent that Kundi needed to go. And the only person I told that I even had Andy's ability really was Coach. And the thing about Coach is people saw us as a duo, and I was 100% riding with Coach. But there are benefits to working with Coach. You can get a lot of intel. He's a very social player, but also a very vocal player. And I knew working with players that were maybe more upfront and vocal would be great shields for me, because the only round where my name was really thrown out there was the round that Coach went out, because people saw us as a duo. And I knew, as much as I loved Coach, that working with him, people were always going to target him over me. And when he went out, that was a complete blindside. And I felt like I was in a really bad position. But I feel like I was really the structure going into the double to pull the five of us together. I had Morgan and Amber that I was still super close with after the Coach vote. And Andy and Trisha, I also was working really hard to strengthen those relationships. And when Andy told me about his double block a vote advantage, I was literally jumping from call with Andy, from call with Amber, to try to make sure that both of them were comfortable with each other. Because after that Coach blindside, there was a lot of distrust. And I was feel like I was really the structure to bring them together and give them intel about what they were both saying to me, to make sure that we could all come together and get out the two people that I saw as the biggest threats going into the double. And going into a final six with Morgan, Andy, Trisha, Michael, and myself, people thought that I was basically stuck between two duos, but I was in the perfect position to guarantee that I would make it to the end of the game.
All right, Evan. Thank you. Alrighty. With that, we are going to start off with Coach. Coach, when you start talking, I will start your 10 minutes. Let me get a 10. Okay. I am ready when you are. Go for it.
All right. Well, first off, congrats to all three of you. I worked pretty well with all three of you in this game, and I'm excited to see. I mean, of the final eight, I wouldn't have hated if most of y'all were there. So, congrats. I'm not the type of person. I'm the type of person that once they get voted out, the game is basically over. I'm not going to come in here and try to wag my dick and try to show you guys up and try to say, oh yeah, I hate all of you and you suck, because that's not true. We play these games for fun, and sometimes for money, but like at the end of the day, it's the friends that we make along the way. So I would ask that if anyone comes in here, and based off of some of the things that I've seen in the jury chat, It's entirely possible. If people come in here trying to wag their dick and try to show you guys up, please just don't buy into their bullshit. Either defend yourself or just play complacent, but don't let them punk you, please. Because I don't like jurors like that. Evan's the only one that actually knows this question because I've asked it every time that I've ever played. I'm going to ask you because everyone claims they play a great social game. So we're going to find out if everyone played a good social game. We're going to ask you questions about jurors and just to see how social you actually were. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask all three of you a question about one juror, myself, and that'll be it. That'll determine my vote because for me, my vote is actually open. Some people are going to come in here and say that their votes are actually open and they're lying. My vote is actually open. I'm willing to vote for all three of you. I have no ill will towards any of you, and I think all three of you are deserving winners. We'll start with Andy. Andy, without mentioning what state these people are from, their marital status, and their job, tell me some fun facts about Fred.
Ooh, well, Freddie recently moved from Tennessee to, I guess that's states. Well, Freddie, I think, has recently been with his started a new time with his girlfriend, has moved across the country, and is somebody that I've had the pleasure of playing multiple games with. So I feel like this is all game related stuff. But and I don't know. I think I've enjoyed his time learning about him and his father, and I think he's, starting a new chapter of life after studying accounting, which I know is kind of job, but that's what he studied in college. So I'll give you that.
Same question about myself.
Oh, well, I mean, we've talked a lot about what kind of media we've enjoyed together. I know we've loved our X-Men dive-ins and chats. I don't know if you started watching Adventures of Superman yet, but I hope that's been on the radar for you too. And I've been meaning to start your podcast about your rewatch, but podcasts are hard. I can't do them when I'm writing.
I got Palau playing in the background because it's a finale, so we're good.
And also I'm happy your cup is still up on the wall, that you're still holding on to her.
Oh yes, my cup is still on the wall, everyone. Yeah. It hasn't fallen yet. Okay, thank you, Andy. Morgan, give me some fun facts about John Farrell.
Oh, John. Me and him had like kind of a love-hate relation. Not really a hate relationship. I just feel like we worked together really strongly some rounds, and the other rounds we didn't really talk to each other. But John is a teacher. He works with special needs kiddos. I'm not sure if we can mention work. John has an amazing, beautiful wife named Megan, who I also love. He's funny as hell. Like, I don't know who got the episode titles, but I can just imagine that he probably got the most of them. His sense of humor shocked me at the beginning because, it's not as easy to like talk through text message or whatever. So when you get him like on a call or when you get him in tribal, he's funny as fuck. And I did not know that. So I honestly have loved my time playing with John. He's a super interesting guy, and he's just really fun.
Same thing about myself.
Oh, about you, Coach. I feel like we have spent a lot of time on the phone together. One thing that comes to the top of my head because I just started watching it was your 46 seasons in 46 days, I think it's called. And I started watching the episode that you were hosting with Julia and Topher. I've never seen Topher around, but obviously I've seen Julia a lot in this game. Another thing about you work as a lacrosse coach, you play lacrosse, and no lacrosse? I thought it was lacrosse, but I guess I'm wrong. You love laying in your bed. You say you are a very boring person, but I feel like these games and like the chit chats that we had weren't boring at all. So
People
That's why I
always
know
get lacrosse and rugby mistaken for each other.
rugby. I was
Yeah,
close.
it's
Don't
fine because that's happened so many times to me. So
don't
I'll give you
penalize
a
me for
pass on
it.
that one. Evan, we'll go with Amber.
Yes. So Amber, well, I mean, she is obviously really close to me on the East Coast. So we talk a lot about just like different places that we've been to. We had a lot of conversations when she was visiting Salem about just our experiences down there and just in Massachusetts in general. Um, we have a few mutual friends that like I mean, I didn't know about her before this game, but we had different things that we could relate on with each other. And I think that really helped bring us together in a game sense. We talked a lot about just real life. And I know she was, I mean, I don't want to say this. She was having like,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know.
yeah,
Yeah,
we had a lot of like really good personal talks.
yeah.
And I love Amber so much. And yeah, I by some miracle, I'm really hoping I can go to the wedding. I know we're not supposed to talk about that kind of stuff, but it really has just been a big event that has been a big part of her personally in the game. And I, yeah, that's
Okay,
what I have
so
to say about
last time we
Amber.
did this, Evan, I asked you what city I hated more than any other city in the entire country. I'm not going to ask you this time because I don't want to
Oh,
put
I
you.
know the answer
You know
though.
the answer, okay? Just tell me something about me then.
Okay, yes. Yes. Well, it's hard because I feel like they answered a lot of the stuff that I had. I remember vividly talking about the Survivor marathon that you were doing, and I've only seen like 5 seasons of Survivor, so I thought that was really cool. We talked about that. I know we talked about how you really need to watch Steven Universe and give that a chance, and different. I feel like we talked about a lot of media and things. And obviously, I think we talked the most about game, but I know you love to sleep in, work late, and party hard, and I am the same way. So I love that, we could always talk about having fun or having a drink or two, and it was always a good time.
Well, y'all, thank you so much. I think that all of y'all did really well with that. Like I said, do not let these people punk you. Some people's egos are bigger than others, especially in this community, because they don't know how to handle losing. So please just answer the questions, no matter how it makes you look like, because fuck them, you beat them. Um, I think that might be it. How much time do I have left, Lawson?
1 minute.
Cool. Congrats to all three of you. No matter who I vote for, it is not a fuck you to the other two. And I need you to know that. If I vote for someone, I don't need you other two to think, oh, yeah, well, he hates me. Because I don't. I think all of you guys are very deserving of being here. And I look forward to knowing you all after this. I concede my time and I'm done.
Alrighty.
No
Thank
gang
you so
signs.
much. Alrighty. Next up, with their 10 minutes will be Kundi. Whenever you start talking, Kundi, I will start your time. Good luck. Have fun.
It's funny coming after Coach because you guys know my ego is above the fucking house, above the apartment building that I live in. Coach said that he came in here and he wasn't going to wag his dick, and I am here to do exactly that. Show you guys up and show you how I was the best. No, I'm just joking. There will be no punking happening here. I do have opinions on the game and the things that have happened, and obviously have preconceived notions because I was not a late jury member, but. And I definitely did talk shit about all three of you in the jury. But I'm genuinely open to all three, no matter what Coach is spewing in his speech. But I am leaning more towards two. Anyways, quick thank you to the hosts and huge congratulations to all of you guys for sitting here. It's not easy to get here, and I am totally super proud of you. Two fans and favorites, two fans and a favorite. Sounds like it's gonna be a battle. But I'll start with you, Evan. You were super sweet and someone who, before Tribes, I wanted to work at. Just when I saw you in the Zoom, I just felt like you were like somebody like I would get along with in real life. And I seemed like you went into the shadows when we met up with each other. And in my head, it made me go, was Trisha the one that shouldn't have made the jury, or was it Evan? Because a lot of us were wondering, what did you do? You suggested that my vote was basically your doing, which was not the case at all, from what I've heard on the jury. And you also said that Trisha's name was the one that people were willing to switch to my vote, which also was not the case from what I'm hearing, that it was always going to be Coach or me, unless there's more to the story that you could enlighten me with. Um, so the question I have is, did you play under the radar, and was that your plan? Or, and other than being social, like you were with some, but not with all. Was that like a part of the plan? Like, was that a part of your game? This is your time to basically enlighten me and like a lot of the other jury, because 80% of the jury doesn't really know your game and really respect it in a way that like I'd love to let you explain your game. And if what I said was correct, that you were on the radar and that you have this secret information, like I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I feel like I had a lot of intel, and I wouldn't say like under the radar was necessarily my strategy. It just kind of ended up working that way because the people that I aligned with were just more upfront and coming off as way bigger threats than I was. And I just started to use that to my advantage because I feel like I was getting a lot of information from players that had their hands everywhere, and I had a lot of trust in those people, and I know they had even more trust with me. With your vote, I'm mainly referring to a conversation with the Fusion for the Morgan, Amber, myself, and Coach. We were on call, and there were a lot of lies going around trying to get us to split the votes. And I had kind of put together that that was coming from mainly you, John, Michael. Like we suspected, and Fred, like we suspected that there was a group there, and they were all like, okay, I don't know if we have the numbers to do this, but I also knew that I could tell Andy to block whoever's vote that I want. So I had that in the back of my mind. And they were worried that if we went for you and the numbers weren't there, it would be bad. So they suggested voting Trisha. And in that moment, I shut it down before it could even be started. And Amber was very, very unsure that she wanted to vote you because a lot of people in the game felt like that you were really close to them. And I even compared notes in terms of like conversations that you and I would have with other people, like compared them to other conversations. And you are so good at buttering people up and making them feel good because I really wanted to work with you too. And I felt like we would really click, but I just knew how dangerous you were. I saw everything aligning. And when they threw Trisha's name out as a safe vote, there was no way I was going to risk a number of mine going. And I did not stop until everybody on that call was for sure voting you when we went to tribal. And I hope that brings more to light. I may have been more behind the scenes, but that doesn't deny the control that I did have.
Yeah, no, thank you for enlightening me with that. The reason why like I brought that up, like I'm not trying to like be egotistical, but like, you were the one that brought up my vote like in your speech. So I just wanted to kind of get some information on that. Thank you for buttering me up, like Anyways, okay, let's move on. Thank you though. Andy, you are a front runner for the jury here. Yet I still kind of struggle to see how I would be able to vote for you. I had an amazing vibe from you as well. And I just felt like you were like a girl's girl, like you're iconic, like you're a great person. Like I feel like a lot of people thought that, definitely. I went semi early into the merge, and my vote, you weren't really here and Evan suggested that he told you what to do with the vote. Granted, you had reasons to not be there, and that's totally fair. But the game is about agency, and like I said before, I struggle to vote you here. Because yes, you did win immunities, and yes, you did have advantages, but it's how you use them. If you're just sitting there with a necklace on or an idol in your pocket, that doesn't fully mean you had a huge effect on how the game went, who went home, and the social connections that were happening. So my question is, this is my personal opinion, not anything towards the jury. How did you use your advantages and idols wins, sorry, your advantage wins, sorry, idol wins and your advantages to benefit you? In a sense, like, did you run any votes? Did you use it to build any social connections? I know you said you gave to Trisha to build that bond, so please enlighten me on that.
Yeah, so I think a lot of my roadmap for the late merge was based around because I got my advantages so early in the merge. Like I said, I had everything going into the Aaron round. And so I knew that, for example, my double vote seal was expiring at 8. And so I kind of worked backwards from how can I use that at the last time possible. So with that in mind, I knew I could swing for the fences at 9 and shoot for coach and target coach at 9. And usually I knew that Fred and Schaefer and John were going to jump on me immediately after they used me for their vote at 9. But I knew because I had my double steal at 8, like worst case scenario, Trisha and I steal 3 votes and we have half the votes there at final 8 anyway. And so because I knew I was going to be okay at 8, that's when I knew I could swing for the fences at 9 and play that game hard. And then I also, what was the other part? Oh, just like when I used it to my
Yeah.
advantage. Yeah. And then I also feel that the block a vote while I did, or the block an advantage while I didn't use it on John specifically, I actually did use it during the coach round on coach to like triple, quintuple ensure that coach was going out that round no matter what, because I felt things were kind of sketchy during that scramble. So I wanted to just like double down, make sure coach didn't have anything from his back pocket from the mission, because I know coach had admitted to me about lying about his endurance time. So I knew there's a chance coach could have won that final mission, which I didn't know where it was. So I played that there at 9 to really ensure that coach would go, freeing up me to take over the game at 8 with that advantage as well, which set me up to get to that spot where I won the last couple immunities to get to the end.
Okay. Thank you so
You have
much
2
for
minutes.
explaining.
2 minutes, Kundi.
Okay, thanks. I was just about to ask. Morgan, I think you're a badass bitch, and I knew you were plotting and fucking scheming this whole fucking time. Not just against me, but everybody else in this game, bitch. I called you out on it at the beginning. You're like, no, no, not me. Anyways, no one ever wanted to vote you. At least vocalize that to me. And I think your voice mattered literally in every single vote. People were voting the way you wanted to vote. So it was like, what's Morgan doing? If Morgan's doing that, we're gonna vote that way. And that's a testament to how you played this game. I think it's telling that people trusted you with their life, but you were also most manipulative, and nobody seemed to put that together and want to get rid of you because you built those strong social connections. You would drop hints such as plotting me and Fred like against each other. And I think that was like a way more like bigger impact than you thought it was, because that caused big, huge turmoil between us and our inside group. I think truly after reflecting that you had such a good grip in the game and that you should have been voted the villain of the season. What is something that you think that you had the biggest hand in this season?
Well, one thing I had the biggest hand in this season, I want to say, like, everyone wonders like why we kept Andy in the game over Fred, Michael, and John. Well, it's because Fred, Michael, and John were a strong 3, and I knew that I had a better chance over Andy, which I'm not afraid of sitting next to in this final, than the 3 of them who were super strong and had advantages between the 3 of them. Also, I played the whole entire game with them, and so I wanted to do something that set me apart from those 3. And I feel like I have a very unique game sitting up here next to Evan and Andy. Whereas if someone like Fred, Michael, or John were up here, we played very similar games. We were on the same team. And look at me, I'm the only fave standing now. So I feel like that was really unique about my game. That's something I have my hands all over. And sorry guys. And Kundi, I love you. I just want to say I absolutely love you. Like
She'll stab you in the back. She'll stab you in the back, Morgan.
In the nicest way though.
All right.
Okay, good
And
luck,
that
guys.
is Kundi's time. Thank you so much, Kundi.
Thanks, Kundi.
So next up was supposed to be Trisha, but we have not been able to contact Trisha. So we are going to Oh, and then after Trisha was Chase, and we have not been able to contact Chase, so I guess we're gonna try to get both of those again. Um, so that means next is Curtis.
Heyo, how are you guys? Congratulations on Final Three. Was so sad I couldn't get to play with you guys more. I felt like I had really good conversations with three of you guys until I got voted out. So I mean, honestly, I will keep it very short and sweet. Because I was with the juries, I feel like earlier on, I would say after my vote out, what was your biggest move? Because I only got bits and pieces from the jury, and I'd like to see, what you think was like the biggest like impact move that you made post my vote in the game. And we can start with Evan.
Yeah, I would say my biggest move, I think I was very vital in getting the kindergarten to come together. After Coach was blindsided, Morgan and Amber really weren't sure about Andy and Trisha and where they stood. And I knew bringing those two pairs together would not only get me through the double, but secure my spot in the finale. I knew that if I could get John and Fred out and be in a situation where I was in a final six with Morgan, Andy, Trisha, Michael, and myself, then I people thought that I basically was gonna be, you know, in there with two duos, but in reality, I think I was in the middle of both of them, and I had the option to really side with either one that I wanted to, and none of them were going to target me, especially in that final six. And from that point on, I knew I was going to make it here, and I think that was the biggest part of my game was really making sure that double went the way I needed it to go.
Okay, cool. Morgan?
I just want to say too about the kindergarten alliance. Well, I do think Evan had a big play in putting it all together. Me and him were talking immediately, and I immediately ran to him and was just like, we have to get Trisha and Andy back on our side. So I also do feel like I played a vital role in that, and we talked about it immediately. So I just want to throw that out there. One of the best strategic moves I feel like I made during this game was one, putting together the Fusion 4 Alliance. I put so much thought into that from like pre-game all the way up until it finally formed during merge, that I knew I wanted to work with a core set of people who were going to carry me through to not carry me through, but who I was going to work with until the end of this game. So I feel like that was something huge that I put a lot of thought in, and it really helped me through the game. Also, I feel like that very last tribal, I hate to talk about something so recent, but the very last tribal, when me and Amber whispered to each other and I figured out that she was going to vote for me. Well, she told me she was going to vote for me. So immediately I knew that I had to get her vote off of me onto anyone else. And so Evan was the only other person it could go on to, because I knew that Andy would vote me if he knew that Amber was going to vote me. And I feel like that just shows like the grasp that I had over the game, just knowing what Andy would do, knowing what Amber would do, and then being able to have her change her vote in the very last second in real time like that. And again, that was the one and only time people have whispered during that season. So I just thought it was really fun.
Okay, cool. And last but not least, Andy? Yeah, I think I've kind of mentioned a couple of times now, but I really do think the coach vote was really where I think I set my ultimate trajectory to go the rest of the game. I had done a lot of legwork. I knew that the narrative going around was that Trisha and I were this pair, Trisha and I were this pair. And so instead of shying away from it, I actually brought it up a lot in a lot of calls with people. And I like kind of half joked about it, but it was so people could really see us as two votes instead of one. Because I think what's more powerful than a swing vote is actually a swing duo. And I think that that put us really in the key position at 9 to link back up again with Fred and Schaefer and John for just that one vote and swing back that towards coach. But I also was kind of willing to do that on my own as well when there was a little bit of a whisper about the vote being split 3-3 on one side. Like that was a plan for a little bit during that round. if we were going to split it, I was happy to switch on my own, even without Trisha. And I told Schaefer that as much, that I would make it a 4-3-2 as well. And so I was kind of always playing both sides of that vote at 9, but it's still, I felt like I was able to keep everybody not point their swords at me afterwards.
Okay, fair. And then just Andy, because both Evan and Morgan have brought it up in their response to me for the Kindergarten Alliance, and I don't know if this is going to help anybody in the jury. Who out of the two, who would you say pivotally brought you and Trisha in to that alliance? Like, was it more Morgan? Was it more Evan? Can you distinguish between the two? Give me the tea.
And I'm not trying to say this to be like shady. I don't actually remember who brought it first. And I know when the three of us formed a separate chat on our own, I feel like maybe Morgan brought up, but like it's indistinguishable to me. I think we all were kind of operating on different levels on who brought it up first between the two of them.
Okay,
So I know it's helpful. Sorry.
No. I'm curious. If the truth be told, if you had said I couldn't distinguish the two, I wouldn't have been mad at the answer, to be quite honest. And yeah, is just and Austin, how much time do I have left?
4 minutes.
Andy, is there anything that you'd like to say that you haven't gotten to say so far? Just to kind of open it up a little bit to you guys, because I'm just curious if there's anything that you wanted to say out.
Yeah, I think that there was, I think Kundi touched on this a little bit, where I think there's a lot. I don't love that my game looks like it came down to me winning out for the final 3 immunities. Like, I think the only one that was truly, genuinely do or die was that final 4. I think other rounds, I think I did have safety. Even at 5, I know that if Amber and Evan and Morgan were all tight, I always had that idol at 5 that nobody knew about besides Trisha. And that was always kind of my safety blanket going into that group of 5. That's why I felt so comfortable doing it. But I think even before that, in the week before, in the kind of earlier parts of the merge, I did do a lot of work to kind of keep the threat off of me. I told a lot of people about Evan and Coach playing together in a previous game. Whenever I kind of clocked that other people were little pairs, I would try to make sure to do that to keep the heat off of myself, when for a while, really the only narrative was that Trisha and Andy are tight, Trisha and Andy are tight, which I think was a really kind of running theme, which we were,
perfect.
but it was.
Fair. And then Morgan, at the end of your intro, you said that to ask you about the Schaefer, Fred, and John votes. So what were you unable to say in your intro regarding that?
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of say, like, I feel like I addressed it a little bit before. Sorry, you can hear my kids in the background. John, Michael, and Fred, from my perception of the game, like, I can't say what was actually happening, just from what I was seeing, they seemed like a tight 3, and they were leaving me out of their conversations. Like, they would come and, like, try and get little bits of information, but really, like, I wasn't a part of that 3, and they were a tough nut to crack. I don't feel like they would have really let me into that at all. And so I also, again, like I said before, I feel like we were on the same tribe, I think, the whole entire game. And so our games were very similar. And so I felt like voting the 3 of them out before Andy was a better move, because those 3 together, or even 2 of them together, I mean, it would have been, I don't think I would have been sitting here today if the 3 of them were left in the game. And so that's why I felt more comfortable sitting next to Andy in the final than I would have sitting next to 2 of them.
Okay, love that. And
1
then
minute.
Evan, is there anything in the last minute that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, I guess I would. I mean, I do think that I will just reiterate, I do think that I had more of a hand in the kindergarten over Morgan. Like, I was jumping back from call with Andy to call with Morgan. I was like, Morgan, Andy just told me about this advantage. He's going to tell you. I would go back to Andy. Andy, oh my gosh, like, let's get on a call with Morgan. You need to tell her about the advantage so we can gain her trust. When I knew that I had trust in both of them that they needed in me. So I think having the information that both of them were giving to me was huge, and getting that together. And I was super close with Morgan. I felt like Andy definitely had my back, and I was going to use that to get myself through the double. And I just want to reiterate that.
Okay, perfect. One last
And
thing
that
for all
is time.
done. All right. Best of luck, guys. Love you all. And
Thanks,
I
Chris.
can't wait to see how this goes.
Thank you, Curtis. We'll move on to Mr. Frederick.
Oh my God.
Hello.
I'll start your time. I'll
All right.
start your time when you start talking, Fred. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, it's a whole crew. All right, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, congratulations, you three. Hello, coach. Um, Obviously, you three made it to a point that none of us could have. So, no matter what, be proud of that. No matter what, hold on to that and be proud of it. But my questions, don't take them to heart, please. But I'm gonna get deep into the game. So, okay, I'm gonna start with Evan. Evan, I gave you the deal of a lifetime. Yet instead, you decided to come to the end with the two people who were perceived to be running this game the entire game. And it was mentioned by multiple people. Yeah, I gave you a final two deal and it was my last plea. I understand that the duo of me and Schaefer, like that trio was like an issue. But at the same time, those two were very like their games were very, very much better than mine. And I firmly believe that. And everyone in the jury firmly believes that. So my question to you just goes, what was your reasoning in a sense?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that question, and I knew it would be coming. So I think at that point in the game, it was hard. I felt like we had kind of reached out to each other here and there in terms of potentially working together, and we could never get on the same page. And at that point in the game, I was so focused on social positioning and what was going to guarantee that I got to the end. And if I took Andy out instead of you, there was no who was stopping Trisha from going and siding with you and Schaefer. And then I go into a 3-on-3 potentially in a final six versus a 5-on-1 where I'm basically guaranteed to make it to the end. And at the time, I obviously thought that I would have more opportunities to take a shot at Andy. So that was, you never know in this game. I thought I would have had more of chances for that, but you can't predict, challenge wins and things like that. But it really was all about social positioning and what was going to guarantee that I made it to the end. And at the time, I just didn't think the risk was worth me not getting there.
Cool. All right. Next, I'm going to go to Andy. Andy, I can confidently admit that I was no help to your game whatsoever. I, in fact, probably put a bigger target on your back than you ever expected. So I kind of come into this final tribal council asking, after that, what did you do? Like, how did you end up getting to this position after my literal main purpose of trying to get myself to stay in the game is to get you? So, yeah, I'm just wondering how you maneuvered around that and everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, what happened in reality, if you were going to say that I pushed through to win out. But also, I feel that I did a pretty good job of keeping heat on Schaefer no matter what was going to happen at that final six round. I felt that the kindergarten still felt pretty strong and that I did everything that I could to keep, pushing that Schaefer's going to have this narrative if he gets to the end and Schaefer's going to, still be a huge threat, which you've seen in some of the other answers tonight. People still felt that Schaefer was a big shot at the end. But I wouldn't have gone into that kindergarten alliance of five if I didn't feel I had the exit strategy. And that was the idol. And I know I don't want to hang it all on that advantage, but if I had felt that I was doomed out of that five, then I wouldn't have gone with it. Then I would have talked to you and Schaefer about flipping at seven. And it was because I knew that I was going to have multiple avenue security with Trisha having my back
with this idol in my back pocket, with the fact that I knew I was going to put my all into challenges and beast it, which I had I already had that reputation. I was already winning stuff pre-merge, and Dylan was telling me pre-merge tribals, how are you going to take that off your back? And I'm like, that's a future Andy problem. And I dealt with it. So I think I just kind of soldiered on, if that answers that.
Absolutely. Okay. Lastly is Morgan. Morgan, we definitely worked a lot together, but I think our main thing that kind of separated us was going to be touchy subjects, right? After touchy subjects, I think your game changed tremendously. So and it could have jeopardized like your path to getting to the end, I believe. So I'm curious how you took that and how did you change your gameplay in order to make it sure that you were never the target to get here?
Oh, yeah, totally. So touchy subjects was a blessing and a curse for me because honestly, seeing the answers that I got provided me with so much confidence. It gave me such a boost in my spirits because honestly, I don't think very highly of myself sometimes. I question myself a lot, especially in these games and with such amazing players and people around me. I question myself a lot. So just to see what you guys all said and thought about me, it really gave me the confidence to move through the post merge and start to really ramp up my game. I knew I had to diminish my threat level a little bit because everyone was talking about how Morgan's this big threat, Morgan's this big threat. And the funny thing is, I felt like I was trying to play like a little bit more of a low-key game at the beginning, and then my plan was to ramp it up the last half. So that is when I knew I had to start winning some challenges. And that is when I won the challenge, the blowing challenge during during the double elimination. So I was really happy about that. But at the same time, like challenges did not have to define my game. I had a social hold on this game the entire way through. And so I kind of, while I did want to win some challenges, I relied on those social connections that I had made, especially in the Fusion 4, because they were my ride or dies no matter what, to make it through the second half of this game.
Heck yeah. Okay, well, that concludes my questions. I just want to say, y'all are killing it. Take a minute to breathe, please. You got a few more questions coming your way, but you three are killing it. Keep doing what you're doing, and don't let people, no matter what they say, don't let them get you down. You are here for a reason, and absolutely own the fact that you are here and you deserve to win no matter what. And I need some confidence. I need some I deserve to be here kind of thing, and I need some pizzazz. Yeah, that's a good word. Just prove why you're here and why you deserve it. And yeah, good luck.
Before you go, Fred, there was a request from some viewers. They wanted to know what Coach is pouring.
Oh yeah. Go ahead and we'll advertise it. We're doing some Jack Daniel's honey. Yeah, we're having a good night.
So. Also, I have the viewers' attention. Follow me on the Nullified Take on YouTube.
46 and 46. Watch the Vanuatu. We did yesterday.
I'm doing Palau tonight after this is done. So yeah.
I'll be on Guatemala tomorrow.
Cheers to
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Fred, and Coach and Julia and the whole crew there. All right. Next up, Mr. Michael Schaefer himself.
What's going on, everybody? Before I get started, I just want to say congratulations to all three of you. Obviously, it's very tough to get to this point at the end of the game. No matter how you did it, you did it. I know tonight's tough. It's a lot of people asking really tough questions, but I'm kind of not going to really make it any easier. Evan, I'm going to start with you. I think your game probably confuses me the most out of the three because I'm just not really sure what your goal was in this game. Were you trying to give yourself the best chance to win if you got to the end, or did you care more about just getting to the end with essentially not really a great chance to win? Because I saw it as you took Andy and Morgan is kind of shielding you to keep yourself protected throughout the game, which is smart. I'm not going to deny that, but I also think you left them too long, and they're going to shield you from maybe getting votes tonight. So I just want you to kind of explain that a little bit.
Yeah, I think with that, like, obviously, you can see that they, or at least it seemed like there was a perception that they were, um, big threats to potentially win. But at the same time, like, I really felt like I needed to keep the people in that I was working with. And because I did want to give myself the best chance to be here. In terms of winning, it was hard because I felt like no matter who I was up against, I knew there weren't as many people that really knew my game. And I think having Andy and Morgan, yeah, I was set up to get here. And I think on the way, making moves and, once I got out all the people that were threats to my game, um, I really just wanted to, my goal was to get to the end with Morgan and Amber. And when that didn't happen, and Andy snuck his way through, we were kind of out of options. I thought I would have more opportunities to make bigger moves, especially after you had left. I just couldn't pull out those immunity wins, but it wasn't necessarily like a strategy to, obviously, I didn't want to go to the end with the two biggest threats, but at the same time, like, that was just the perception of people that didn't understand my game. Or I think, it's easy to underestimate like a social game when you have people that played a lot differently than I did, but I really think I had a lot more sway than what everybody saw. And if that overshadows my game, then there isn't too much I can do about that because I really was just as involved and was able to make moves without getting any blood on my hands. And my name was never thrown out as a vote. I caught a few strays along the way, but that was it. I was never targeted because of how I positioned myself. And that was my goal.
You mentioned that when you were giving your answer that you didn't really want to sit at the end with both big threats. So why did you pass on the opportunity at Final Six when I came to you, Amber, and Trisha to take out Morgan?
Because Morgan and I were very close almost the entire game. Like, we were basically ride or dies. And I still didn't feel like I could really trust you in the game. I knew that if Andy went out, I needed to make sure that I was just in the middle of the two duos so that I could just continue to have options. And I knew you could potentially have some sway with Amber. I was worried that you could have some sway with Trisha because there had been talk about relationships that you had. So I felt like at that point it was best to make sure that I was in a position where every single person felt good about me.
Okay, fair enough. I respect it. Andy. Oh, you sneaky little devil, Andy. I adore you. You know that. I think you played a very, let's think of the word, interesting game. Because I feel like you had a lot more, you played the scene a little more strategic than I've expected and seen in the past. I was a little underwhelmed with your social game, I'm not going to lie. So I kind of want to give you the chance to explain. Can you give me like two relationships that you've had that are kind of not really well known or well established? Like, obviously, like, please don't say Trisha. So, like, two other relationships you had that kind of helped you get to this spot tonight.
Yeah, I definitely think, I definitely think my relationship with Aaron that blossomed on the swap, while obviously it's a little short-lived, I think really kind of helped me get pulled into the fold as merge began. And I really felt that her and I had a really good kind of back and forth rapport where we shared a lot of info. And then later in the game, I mean, I think I'm gonna go with, I really think my relationship with Evan really wasn't seen. I think, but in the sense that I really felt that I was throwing around him and Coach as a pair a lot to a lot of people. I think people didn't necessarily think that we were as close as we were. but I was giving him kind of bits and bobs of pieces here and there, and I felt that we were always kind of locked in, and I knew that his end game move was always going to be to cut me. Like I kind of always knew that's where our relationship was going to be. But I really felt that I was really able to have open and honest dialogue with Evan. I mean, I called him like the moment tribal end after Coach went, and I was able to really kind of rekindle that bond immediately. And Evan said in that moment, like, because you have told me about the safety without power, like I feel like I can trust you and I can still work with you. And so I think those were two like under the radar moves where I feel like I really kind of amped up the social.
Awesome, thank you. Morgan, coming over to you. We
Hi.
played this entire game together.
Yeah.
And I neither of us really around much in the first season we played together. You fucking killed it.
Thank you.
My one question to you, well, it's kind of two. I'll go to the main one first. What do you think? 'Cause, like, I'm kind of a little bit the opposite, Andy. I was very impressed with your social game because it was very kind of out there, and the relationships you made with people were so strong, and I definitely saw it toward the end game. What was your one big strategic move that helped you sit here tonight?
My one big strategic move, I feel like I answered this question a little bit. I feel like since the very beginning of the game, I honestly was thinking 12 steps ahead. I was thinking about what I wanted to do. And especially Evan can testify to this because me and him talked like 12 steps ahead constantly. So I feel like that is what has really set me apart in this game from previous games I've played, just because like I said before, I kind of came into games just like not really thinking steps ahead, just trying to like go with the flow. But this time, like I knew I wanted to make it here and I started setting like the ball rolling to make it here from the very, very beginning. I feel like specific moves that I've made, one, touchy subjects was like a big thing for me. I got all those like incredible answers, but it put a huge target on my back. But at the same time, I was able to diminish that target on my back and continue moving forward with the people that I was really close with. I mean, and really everyone on the cast. Also, I'm so sorry, Michael, John, and Fred. You guys were a huge move of mine. I feel like in conjunction with like other people, especially like the kindergarten. But I just knew that you guys had to go at the very end because, again, like we had super similar games. We were on the same tribes the whole entire time. I was not afraid to sit next to Andy, even though he won all of the competitions. We'll just say all of them. And so I feel like that was a big move in my game because I'm sitting here tonight and I do feel like I have a chance of winning against these two players. I feel like I have a really good chance. And so, but next to maybe you and John or you and Fred, I feel like my chances would have been a lot less because I wouldn't have been playing a unique game at all next to you guys because we played very similar styles, very similar games, I feel like.
One more question I just need to ask this before I finish up. Were you actually going to vote Andy out at 6? Were you lying to me that whole time?
I was 100% going to vote Andy out. I would wanted to get Andy out as soon as I could, but you know, Evan and Amber weren't with it, but I was 100% going to vote Andy out. 100%.
All right. Thank you so much. Good luck the rest of the way. Austin, give the next juror the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so that means John Farrell, you are next. And John Farrell,
don't sound so disappointed,
no,
Austin.
because John Farrell duped me. And so John Farrell, I am going to give you 11 minutes because Michael had 30 left over and someone else had 30 left over. And like you said, I said unused time could go to John Farrell. So John, I will give you 1 extra minute.
Hello, fuckers! It's been a long time. The dead has risen. Oh, you all seem so happy to see me again. Well, some of you anyway. And I mean, I know Coach has said that to don't mind the egos and what, but you know what? Some of us just need to stroke something. I mean, we've been missing stroking things throughout our time on the jury. So in my quick little start here, I'm going to just give some opening statements of my own, but I'm also going to dedicate this to our lovely host, Miss Carly. So forgive. It sounds good. Forget. I'm not sure I could. They say time heals everything, but I'm still waiting. I'm through with doubt. There's nothing left for me to figure out. I've paid a price, and I'll keep playing. I'm not ready to make nice. I'm not ready to back down. I'm still mad as hell, and I don't have time to go round and round. It's too late to make it right. I probably wouldn't if I could. Oh, I'm still mad as hell. I can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should. I know you said I should just get over it. It turned my whole world around, and I kind of like it. Oh, okay. Time for some questions for you all, you lovelies. All right, I will start with Evan. Evan, now you brought up this lovely point here that we kept thinking that you were going to be caught between two duos, yet this obvious group that you guys absolutely correctly put of myself, Fred, Schaefer, and the late Mr. Cundy. We knew that you were definitely part of a trio at that point with Morgan and Amber. So we definitely didn't put you with two duos. We definitely separated you from two. We had you in one group. So I mean, that's not at all what we were thinking at that point. Now, also, I have to ask you, you keep bringing up your social game, but you're sitting here next to the social queen, Miss Morgan, who definitely outshined you in the earlier question by Coach. Can you claim that your social game was better than Morgan's? This is a legit question for you.
I think I definitely had, especially as the end game happened, more power in terms of my social game. Um, I mean, really between Andy, Trisha, Amber, and Morgan, I was really the swing vote that could have sided either way. And I think, you know, I could have taken Morgan out if I wanted to.
But you didn't.
I just, yeah, I didn't. I set myself up to give myself options in the game. And in terms of what you're saying about the duo separating me from Coach, yeah, that's fine. I'm mainly attributing what Fred was saying to me when he got voted out because he was trying to give me the big deal of, oh, I'll be your new duo. But I knew I didn't need that because I felt like I was super close with Andy. I was in a duo with Morgan. So it really was just, people didn't see how well set up I was. And I really didn't have to, you know.
Okay. Well, I mean, my vote is still completely open. I'm still listening to everything. But right now, what it's seeming what you're saying is you're the mouse that's busy trying to go back and forth between everything. We have Morgan, which is the parrot that's talking to everyone. We have Andy, that's Mr. Scrooge McDuck, Mr. Uncle, Mr. Moneybags there. But what do the birds do to the mice? The birds eat the mice in the end. So is that what's going to happen tonight?
I mean, I don't know what's going to happen tonight. All I know is that I did the best I could with the hand that I was dealt. And at a certain point, there were people that were just straight up lying to me about game information. And I didn't want to I didn't want to work with people that didn't have my back. And going after you and Fred and Cundy was definitely something that really set myself up. And I don't think that, a lot of you really, I guess more you and Fred, I feel like there wasn't a lot of reason for you to want to work with me until you guys were really going to be going out. And Morgan had that connection with the faves, but I felt like a lot of the faves didn't want to give me as much information. So I worked really hard to get in good with the ones that I could. And I always kept the fans close. I think you could argue that my game is kind of flipped in terms of Morgan. Obviously, she had like a lot of the faves close from her original tribe, whereas I was the opposite. I had a lot of the fans close from the original tribe, and we were both in the middle of everything and both had sway. The difference was Morgan was seen as the bigger threat. So I really was the one that made sure that I was secure. People were always going to go after them before they went after me. And I wanted to make sure of that. And if that overshadowed my game, me being more behind the scenes, then I mean, that's just a perception because I really was untouchable.
Because I
at
mean,
that
what I
point.
kept, because what I kept seeing from, especially from Tribals afterwards, was the jury doesn't understand my game yet. The jury doesn't understand my game yet. Well, we kept waiting. We kept waiting and trying to figure out, well, what is Evan's game? And even once Trisha came in, yes, we got no information. Once Amber came in, we got no information. So literally, we had to wait until tonight to try and figure out what was Evan's game. What was Evan doing here? Coach gave us a little bit of stuff that Evan was doing stuff with him, but that was it. That was all we were able to tell. Andy and Morgan, you're right. They had a much front forward game. They had a much powerful game. But you're sitting here with two powerful people. That's a thing. Then I'm hoping that you can try and convince everybody that you were able to be more powerful than the end and that you can claim this title. I'm going to move on. Andy.
You have 4 minutes, Farrell.
Shush. All right, Andy. Don't forget, I'm officiating your wedding. I can take as much time as I want. All right. So, Andy, we've talked about your advantages. Now, sure. I have a question that's been burning in my mind. You have your idol that's sitting in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. It's good till Final Five.
Yeah.
Why didn't you play it on Trisha?
She told me not to, first of all. She lied straight to my face and said she was voting Morgan. And I asked her multiple times, do you want me to play it? Do you want me to play on you? I know Evan's being a little flaky right now. Do you want me to play it? And she like insisted. No, which I'm now realizing was because she was self-voting.
Taking that move against herself. Yes.
Yes. And to be honest, if she had told me that she was self-voting, I'm going to be honest, I don't think I would have played it on her. I'm not going to, at gunpoint, force someone to stay in a game that they don't want.
And you know, and I can't blame you at that point. Yeah. But had you not known, even out of that inkling, just out of self-preservation, had you guys known at Final Five that it was going to be a vote at 4?
We hadn't. Yeah.
Okay.
We hadn't known yet till after the Final Five tribal.
Okay, so you didn't even know at that point. So why not give yourself that extra just guarantee? Hey, I have my partner in crime with me at 4. Why not just be able to just take that with me to 4? And why not just guarantee yourself that position?
We talked about it and she was so emphatic and told me not to play it. And I just was so, I understand where you're coming from and I totally get how it looks and makes sense. And I now realize she was so emphatic because she felt she had to pull herself, but she really told me deep down, I don't want you to do it. I want you to keep it. I want you to keep it here. And so that was my decision.
Okay. And I'll tell you one other small little mistake that you had back at 8. I wasn't pushing for you to go at that vote. And you blocked my vote. However, that was the route I was going to go. However, I was trying to stick with you and try and take Miss Social Queen Morgan out at that vote. But my other two compadres, Fred and Michael, did not want to do that route. And so that's why you heard in turn.
Yeah. I blocked you because I knew you were going to be getting a majority of the votes. And I knew you had your advantage. I was worried was an knowledge's power.
And I played it right away anyway. So you guys.
That's true. That's true. But
I would have tried to play it right away if you knew it was a knowledge's power, and I would try to stake in something from your 1,000 things that you had in your pocket.
Yeah. Yeah.
But say la vie. I can give one finger too. There
Fuck
we
you,
go.
Farrell. I love you. Keep going. Finish.
All right, I'm going to move on to Morgan since apparently I have 1 minute left. Morgan, love you. All right. You've been reading the room quite well on a lot of these things. Yes, myself, Michael, and Fred were working together. Yeah. You asked me the question. Well, why didn't I want to vote with Cundy? He's in my alliance with me. Of course, I didn't want to vote him out. So there's these obvious things that are. I mean, it was very. I mean, I could tell that you were working tight with Coach, especially after we had that. We stayed on call right after the tribal there. We had that tight vote. Had Andy not won at 9, would you have voted with us to try and split up Andy and Trisha?
I would have voted Andy at any chance I would have gotten.
See, that was a nice little move there from Andy. But what we didn't, granted, again, you took us out when you got the chance, because granted, the three of us, we were together, but we would have probably cut each other's throats the first chance we probably could have if we needed to, because that's how myself, Michael, and Fred play. Because we're devious fuckers. But speaking of devious fuckers, I see some more people are here waiting. So for now, Coach has also been doing a drinking game with us. So we've been you guys really had us almost drunk right after opening speeches, based upon the list that Coach gave us. So cheers, fuckers, and bye, fuckers.
Thank you so much, John Farrell. It's always a pleasure to watch you serve on a jury. Just a glimpse into my wedding, I guess. Can't wait for that. No, genuinely can't wait for that. That sounded really sarcastic.
I'm relying on Ingrid for that information.
Anyway, we are moving on to Chase.
Hi. I was supposed to go last, but I was taking a nap. So here I am. I did just want to say, just to start off, really proud of all three of you. I feel like Evan, early game, we were working super close. Andy, towards the middle, maybe before merge, we were working super close. Morgan, after merge, you already know what it is. Not merge, but swap, you know what I'm saying. So super proud, super happy at this outcome, seriously. I'm not gonna take up too much of your time. I understand why I was voted out. I get. That being said, I have 2 questions, because I just started watching Survivor, just very recently, and getting into this world. I feel like, Jeff Probst always says when you're playing a high level of Survivor, there's a lot of blind sides. I don't feel like I saw a whole lot of that, and this is a 2-part question, and it's for all of you. So I don't feel like I saw a whole lot of that. So and if I missed anything, please let me know and tell me to rewatch it. Tell me, shut up, Chase, you took a nap. Go back and watch. But if I'm missing anything on a high level standpoint and things maybe not everybody knew, I want to give you the floor on that. The second thing I want to give you the floor on is, you guys are sitting in a final 3. There's 2 other people here. I want to give you the floor to tell me why the other 2 really, really suck. Give me something, don't be boring. Give me something. Okay. Whoever wants to start, you can start. That's a 2-part question. 1, I'm giving you the floor on more advanced gameplay, stuff maybe we didn't know about in the background. And then 2, tell me why you hate each other. Bye.
I'll go first just to get this over with. Chase, can you come back on camera so I can look at you when I sorry. So one thing that you guys probably didn't know, maybe Evan knew a lot about this, was actually I was super duper close with Chase in this game. When we finally got swapped together, I wanted him to be my ride or die. And so when he was not talking, I was heartbroken. During that time, I was telling Chase everything when we finally got swapped together. I told him everything. And it was totally my intention for Chase to be a part of the Fusion Alliance because I really wanted to work with Chase, but it just didn't pan out. So I think that's probably something that people don't know about my game. Why the other two suck. I don't think they actually suck, so let's caveat. The reason I feel like I played a stronger game than the both of them, one, I feel like Andy's game was based on comp wins, and I feel like if he wasn't winning competitions, he would have gotten voted out several times. And I feel like that wasn't a factor for me. I was able to win comps, but even if I would have won no comps, I never had an advantage. I never won a mission. I still made it through to the end of this game based off my social game and my strategy with a sprinkle of comp wins in there. So I played a fully well-rounded game. Why Evan sucks, which is a mean thing to say. I don't think he sucks, but I feel like my social game, my whole game was just a little bit better than Evan's. I feel like we did work super closely together in this game, but I feel like my strategic and social game stood out next to Evan's game. I feel like most of the people on the jury have seen the moves that I've been making, and there's a lot of moves that you guys haven't seen. And I feel like Evan just played the background a little bit when coming to FTC, like jurors, I feel like want a shining star. And I feel like I played both those games, my outward game and my kind of like laid back game. So I feel like that's why I played a better game than both these guys. Love you guys. Sorry.
I can go next. I think people, I just think people weren't seeing in the very beginning of the merge when it was more voting block based, especially with how things shifted drastically for the Aaron vote and then would have shifted drastically again for the Cundy vote if I were there. I really think I was doing my darndest to make sure I was really in the clue and in the thick of it of multiple options when it was a little more loosey goosey in the beginning. Even during the Curtis round, when Michael's name was getting passed around a little bit, I was one of the first people Michael was talking with when we switched the vote onto Aaron. I really kind of made sure I was really positioned myself in the middle, as even with I think a higher threat level. I again disclaimer, don't think either Evan or Morgan suck. But I will say I think Morgan slightly sucks for saying that my game was all comp wins just now. I think she even admitted herself earlier in the final tribal that at final 6, Evan and Amber weren't down to vote me. So even if I hadn't won immunity there at 6, I think there was a world where I still slept through there regardless. And then I think even at 5, keeping my options open at 5, having what everybody knew was kind of still an idol still in my back pocket means that even without that immunity when at 5, I'm coasting through to 4. And so I think that there is worlds where I have agency to get through, and I was positioned well within that kindergarten group. And I don't think comp wins define my placement and positioning, because I think I still was positioned optimally. And then I think versus Evan, I just think I was a little more, I think I was able to have more of a higher threat level and have people coming at my throat and calling out my alliances and I feel like my stuff was out there for everybody to see so early on in the game. And I think Evan was able to pull back so much. And I think that kind of similar to what Morgan said, I think that it was too just low key at times. And I think I was still able to do so much despite having all of my kind of dirty laundry out there from the get-go.
Okay, part of my like strategy coming into this game, I normally lie a lot in these games, but I really wanted to be like real with people and honest especially when we talked game, because I wanted it to seem like people I was open and that people could talk to me. And anytime I did give out information, obviously like people lie in the hour before tribal, but when I was having like real conversations with people over the phone and through text, like I was always giving them real information about stuff that people said because I wanted people to feel like they could come to me, and being easily approachable, I think it kind of opens the doors for, opportunities when you have a social game like that. And I also think I did a really good job at managing my threat level. At this point, people can argue that the two next to me overshadow me, but I think to be the best, you got to beat the best. And I think I managed my threat level almost flawlessly because my name was never thrown out there. And for um why the other two suck, I'm gonna say, I mean, I respect them so much, but Andy, I think Andy would be out of this game so fast without advantages and physical game. And you could argue that, physical game isn't as important of a factor. Like he still had advantages, but let's remember, people, every single advantage that we got in this game was because of a challenge. So it kind of all ties together in the same category. And I think that is kind of the weak point with his game. In terms with Morgan, I feel like it's kind of the opposite of what I said. I don't think she managed her threat level that well at all. I think she was always a big name out there, and you definitely risk a lot when you are more in the forefront. And I think she definitely could have made it seem like she was a lot less of a threat than she was. And I think that's where I really shined because our games were pretty similar and we were working so close together. But yeah, that's what I have to say about that. But I also think they're both great. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm not refuting anything that any of you just said, because I think it's all valid and I think you all have the right to own it, claim it, get at it. Thank you for answering my questions. I don't have anything else. I just want to say good luck, and maybe I should catch up on this fucking drinking game going on. I don't know.
Thank you
Okay.
so much, Chase. All right, Trisha, our fashionably late queen. According to Dylan, we just started early. Trisha's not late. We just started early.
Period.
The queen is never late. Everyone else is simply early. No, I'm always late to everything. I always just fucking set my alarm at the wrong time. Let's just be real. No, I snoozed it. I didn't want to come. Let's be real. I've been dreading Final Tribal Council and I wasn't even in this shit. I didn't want to hear you guys get ripped apart for over 2 hours. That was stupid. Hi, besties. I don't really have a question prepped. I know what kind of games you guys were playing. I don't know. I guess I don't really want to like tear apart your game or interrogate you guys. So I'm just gonna ask like more of a fun question. I don't know how many people have gone. I didn't really watch anything back, obviously. I kind of woke up and saw everybody blowing me up, being like, "Come to Final Tribal." Okay, so
We'll
I'm just
send
gonna
you the
ask you
YouTube
guys.
link, bestie.
Oh, I'm gonna watch it. Don't worry. I like to watch everybody. So I will just ask you guys, and it's for all three of you, if you guys could have made one move at any point in the game with absolutely zero repercussions that could have changed the whole course of how you played, what move would you have made for you? And that's for everybody. I just want to hear like what kind of move you would have made.
I mean, I think mine is I would have ignored your pleas not to play the idol, and I would have played the idol on you on 5 and taken Morgan out, as kind of was the original goal for us at 5.
Yeah.
I just that to me is the only real thing that I feel was a little bit of a little chink in my armor, I think. That was always kind of the plan. I knew one of us could slay that final 5 immunity, and I knew that the idol would get us both through to 4, and I just kind of had to go with what you said, and you told me not to do it, and I kind of felt like we had built up that bond throughout the game where I respected your word and wanted to play to your word. So the repercussion would have been I would have been essentially forcibly making you stay in a game you didn't want to stay in, which is never my policy. But I think it would have, you know, Morgan would have gone at 5 then, and this obviously everything would have been different here tonight.
I'll go. I think, well, obviously I want to win an immunity, so I'm gonna throw in that hypothetically too. I think at 5, if I could have won an immunity, um, I would, since you did want to go out, I would have, it was kind of clear that that's what was going to happen, but I definitely would have tried to throw in votes on Andy and made it known that you were going to be walking out. It's a little dirty, but getting him out and then going into a final four with you, Morgan, and Amber, I think would have been a pretty big move. And then, at that point, it would be tempting to not go to the end with you and Amber. So, if you and Amber didn't want to voluntarily go out, then I think things could have been different. But yeah, that's what I would have done.
Sorry, I'm just gonna say I got a lot going on now because I'm doing mom stuff at the same time as this. But so I guess one thing I would have done differently in the game. That's your question. One thing I would have done differently in the game, I feel like goes all the way back to the Sura vote. I feel like I did not include Aaron and Amber on that vote, and at the time we were all in an alliance. While I don't regret making the move that I did back then, because it kind of catapulted me in the game, I do feel like I wish I would have included them a little bit more, and I feel like that instead of breaking the trust that I had, I feel like I was never able to fully recover with Erin, no matter what she says. I'm so sorry, Erin. I do feel like I was able to recover from Amber because we really talked about that. But I definitely feel like that was a little early on to be making a move like that to sow like certain distrust with me. So I feel like my ride would have been a little more smooth if I wouldn't have made that move so early. Well, not wouldn't have made the move because I still would have done it, but at least if I would have queued them in a little bit more, I just would have kind of went about it a little differently.
Okay, well, yeah, I don't really have anything else to ask. I like how, like two of the three of you said it was at the 5 vote. But that's funny. But yeah, no, I love all three of you. You guys know that though, and I wish you guys the best of luck. I'm so proud to see all three of you guys here, and you guys deserve it. So, great game.
Thank you so much, Trisha. Aaron.
Hello.
We were before FT. I just need to say this before Final Tribal. Us as hosts were talking about how much we adore your setup. I just want to shout that out. Shout out to Aaron's setup.
Well, first, congratulations to all three of you guys. You guys did what none of us here on Jer could do, is make it to Final Tribal Council. So do not let anyone take that away from you, because I know it's been a lot of hard questions tonight. But that being said, I do have a hard question, but it's mostly because I feel like we keep hearing the same stuff from you guys. So I'm going to try to ask a question slightly differently to hopefully help us understand your games a little bit better and maybe enlighten us a little bit more. So everyone obviously wants to talk about big moves, things that they added to the resume during these games and things like that. But obviously luck and mistakes are something that happen every single game. So I want you guys to tell me how luck played into your guys' game, as well as mistakes you have made throughout this game that either worked or did not work in your favor. And Andy, I'll go ahead and start with you.
Yeah, I think there's luck played a huge part, and the mission that I have a luck and a mistake. The mission where I went on where I was voted in, I never did any true hardcore campaigning for that. And so I think that there was I think I attribute it to either a combination of people wanting me to go in or people wanting to raise my threat level, but I never went around and asked for votes for that. And honestly, when I got on it, I was kind of like, oh, like, shoot, like this is gonna really amp up how people think about me. And then I guess you could say I mean, I kind of phrased it differently before, but I definitely feel I made a mistake playing the block and advantage when I did, when I could have played it around later when I knew John had it. I think I guess I technically wasted it on coach. I was so put off by the scramble that round, and it was so wonky and weird. And I kind of just like, I knew that that would have been another really show shot, even though it's another advantage thing, another show stopping thing that really showed I had my read on it. And the fact that I chose to kind of go the safer route in the moment versus going with my gut when people told me that Inklings John had it was a time when I think I did something not like suboptimal, you could say.
Gotcha. And then Evan, I'll have you go next.
Yeah, I think obviously luck is a factor. I think something that I kind of got unlucky with was definitely going on the missions. I only went on the first one, and at that point, I didn't get to go on any others. And I would have liked to have a little more power advantage wise in the game. So I think I was unlucky that way. But I also feel like with my swap tribe, I did kind of get lucky there with the people that I was positioned with. But I also feel like had I been a part of the other swap tribe, I felt really good with Nick, Chase, and Morgan going into that. So I don't doubt that I could have made something work. And really the only thing that I wish it really just all ties down to competitions for me. I wish I like could have won more, especially towards the end game, but I think I just did the best with the hand that I was dealt with. Another unlucky thing was I was kind of felt like I was left out of the David vote during the swap, and David was somebody that I feel like I really could have used as a number, and that's how I felt about Nick when he went out on the other swap tribe. So I felt like I lost two really good potential allies going into the merge, and coming in late to what was going on during the David vote definitely was unlucky, but it wasn't me. So I just made sure to move forward and figure out how to set myself up into the merge.
All right. So you did touch on luck. What were some mistakes that you made in this game that either helped your game in the long run or maybe hurt your game?
Some mistakes. Um, I mean, it's hard for me to really pinpoint mistakes other than not doing better at challenges. The only thing that I can even think of that could have potentially been a mistake was not taking the deal with Fred, but then because I would have had to turn on Trisha and it would have potentially been a 3-on-3 going into a final six, I also don't feel confident that I would be here had I taken that road. So I kind of have looked back at that and reflected as like, was getting Andy out there the right move? And I really can't say for sure if it was because I definitely would not be confident that I would be here if I didn't take Fred out when I did.
Gotcha. Thank you. And then Morgan, I'll go ahead and end with you.
This is actually a really hard question for me, only because I don't feel like I got lucky at all in this game. I feel like all of the moves that I made were calculated, and I feel like luck didn't really play a part. Well, granted, I got unlucky at some points, but I was able to like push through that using my social and strategic game and at times my comp wins. So I guess I just have to push back and say, like, I don't feel like I got lucky. I feel like I made all the moves that I wanted to make, and that got me here today. Now, mistakes, I definitely feel like I made a few mistakes in this game. One I kind of touched on briefly with Trisha's question was the Sura vote. While I don't think it was a mistake to vote Sura out, I mean, my reasonings for that one were she didn't want Molly in our girls alliance. And I had said before, like I was working so closely with Molly and Michael at the beginning of the season. And the fact that she wanted to disclude Molly from an all girls alliance, I just didn't like that, to be honest. Like I wanted it to be the girls. And like, I feel like, I had said that to all of you and, all of you agreed. And then Sura kind of came back and was just like, no, like I don't want Molly. Let's put Kundi in the alliance instead. But I'm like, that kind of like defeats the purpose. You know what I mean? And so I guess while I don't regret the decision to vote Sura, I do regret not bringing you and Amber into that decision a little more, because I do feel like if I would have approached you with what I was thinking, you probably would have accepted it a little better than at the time I thought you would have. So I just wish I would have included you guys in that, because we had such a great relationship before. I really feel like that put some space in between us. And you're such a fucking amazing player, Aaron, that I wanted you on my side. Like, you always had information. You always wanted to hop on calls with people. You always were getting around there. And that's the kind of game I wanted to play. Like, super uber social. Like, it's just fun. And I feel like that really put sorry, my kids in the background. I feel like that really put like a wall up between us for a little while. We were able to overcome that, but I just wish I could have played more closely with you and Amber as a group in the game. And also, my other one mistake was not making Chase play. I wanted Chase to play, and I was so disappointed when he was not. I should have been calling him. I should have been texting him. I should have really just pulled his ass back into this game, because Chase, I wanted to play with him so bad. Like, we had a great vibe. Like, I honestly had these big plans that, like, it was going to be like the Fusion 5, including Chase, and that didn't happen. So I'm a little sad about that. And I feel like it was a mistake not to hound him a little more to get his ass back in the game.
All right, thank you. And Austin, how much time do I have left?
Sorry, I couldn't unmute. 1:30.
Okay, so I'm going to ask this question very quickly. I want rapid fire. So we heard how you guys all suck. Now I want to hear you tell me why the other two should beat you. Andy, I already see you unmuted, so go right ahead.
I think they had alliances that I wasn't in, and they made bigger, grander alliances when I focus on smaller one-to-one relationships.
All right, thank you. And then we'll go to Evan. We'll just do the same order as before.
I think Andy had a really fun, flashy game that, as if I was watching the season like on my couch, I would probably be rooting for. So I think he'd be a fun winner. Morgan, I think, is also just a queen herself, and I think she also had a lot of control in the game. And yeah, I think they're both deserving.
And Morgan.
Yeah, this final three is honestly probably the best final three I've seen in a while. We all played really great games. Andy, comp beast. Like, that's all I can say. He played a competition strong game, and I wish I could win comps like that. I'm honestly like, maybe I'll talk my shit, but I'm jealous. Evan, he's so kind and sweet and fun to talk to. And I know, like, not everyone got to see that, but I do think Evan played a good social game. I do. And he honestly, like, was my ride or die alongside Amber. And I just think he played an amazing game. He has a great strategic mind. And maybe you guys all didn't get to see that, but I had the privilege of seeing that throughout this game. So I think they are both amazing and so deserving of the win.
All right, thank you guys. I see Austin's on, so I think that means my time is up. So good luck.
Thank you so much, Aaron. All right. We have one more juror, then final speeches, and then they'll have some time to vote and all that. But let's keep going. So Amber, come on in.
All right, I got exiled into the bathroom again, so here I am. Okay, number one, I love all of you. Like, playing this game, like, literally meeting all of you and getting to know you is the best. And you guys are literally awesome. Okay, so my question is, I wrote it in my notes because I'm like horrible at remembering anything. So what was your biggest mistake of the game and how did you recover from it? However you guys want to go.
Oh, I can go first if you want. So, I mean, this is the third time I brought this up now. biggest mistake in the game was not bringing you and Aaron into my thoughts on Serath. That sowed so much distrust at the beginning of the game, and I had to put in the work with you guys to get you to forgive me, and that was all genuine. And to this day, I still feel horrible about that because Amber, you are my fucking bestie. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I love the fuck out of you, and I wish I would have told you in the beginning so that we wouldn't have had that moment in time where we were kind of like not working together, not kind of, you were pissed at me, and I just wish back then I would have known that I could trust you more, because I would have brought you in. I never would have kind of gone out on my own. I would have let you know.
I'll go next. I think my biggest mistake was when Coach went out, not making sure that that alliance of six, because the original kindergarten was everybody, and it was supposed to be including Coach that round. And when that alliance chat didn't get made, Andy and Trisha lost their trust in Coach, and I lost one of my closest allies. And that was definitely a mistake that was hard to get through, but I think I picked it up pretty quickly. And once Coach was out, I ended up being in a really good position and being able to position myself between allies. And I think him going out actually strengthened my relationship with a lot of the people I already had been working with. So I recovered pretty quickly and was still able to do everything I needed to do to get here.
My biggest mistake, I think, to be honest, I think I hyperfixated a little too early in the merge on fans versus favorites. Like that was something that was very, very top of mind for me. Taking Chase and then Curtis going out was like, oh my God. And I think I kind of not stereotyped is the wrong word, but like looked at a lot of faves with kind of a blanket wash and assumed that all of them were kind of not. I didn't see a lot of them initially in the beginning of that merge as individual players that I could work with my individual relationship on in the beginning. And so I do fear that I kind of like in the beginning really, and people were even picking it up and saying it to me. I had people being like, we're not voting Curtis out because he's a fan. Don't worry, Andy. And I think that forced people to like coddle me a little bit instead of being a little bit more real and talking to people one-on-one and really trying to like actually get to know them as people. And I saw people as fans and faves, I think a little bit earlier on in the merge than I honestly probably should have known better to embrace that thinking earlier.
Well, good luck to you all. You all deserve to be here. And I love you all to death. So, God, you guys made this so hard. But yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Amber. All right. We are moving into the final part of Final Tribal Council, moving into the closing speeches where you each will have 3 minutes. Let me get a 3-minute timer going. Reminder of the order. It is Evan, then Morgan, then Andy. So Evan, the floor is yours. When you start talking, I'll start your 3 minutes. I'll come on at the 1 minute mark.
Okay. So jury, my final thoughts. It's been such an amazing game for me. I have had the best time playing, and I respect all of you and all your decisions tonight. Um, it seems like obviously my game has been kind of unknown compared to the other two, but I've been doing my best. I'm over here, I'm staying smiling. I really feel like my social game was the best out of the three. And I knew it would potentially be an uphill battle going against two front runners. But going into this, I think I really benefited because I was able to get real people in and get people to trust me really easily. And I mean, I could go back to touchy subjects. I was voted as the person that people were, or who's your closest ally. I got that vote. And I think that was a moment in the game where I realized that I really did have a lot of power at that point in the game with the people that I worked with, and every single move that I wanted to make besides or every single move that I wanted to happen going into merge ended up happening besides coach's vote. And obviously I didn't get to take a shot at Andy, but I really tried to position myself to ensure that I would get here. And it's been a long game. I never expected to make it this far. And I'm just happy to be here and I'm trying to keep my head up and I've had the best time. Yeah, I think yeah, I'm going through a lot. I'm processing everything right now, but I've had so much fun. I think, yeah, I've really done the best that I can with the cards I've dealt, and I'm just gonna end with that.
All right, thank you so much, Evan. Let me find a 3-minute timer again. All right. Morgan.
Okay, I'm dealing with multiple things right now. But okay, so I do have like a little something prepared, but first I just want to rebuttal something that Evan said earlier because I'm gonna play my game till the wheels fall off. Evan indicated that I do not have good threat management, which is totally untrue. I have great threat management. I got 3 votes this season, I think. There were single votes at each of the last 3 tribals. 2 of them were from Andy, who was like my biggest competition in the game. We kind of went back and forth trying to get each other out. Neither of us were successful. But I feel like I had great threat management throughout the game. I feel like, no, everyone thought I was like a big player, but I feel like no one really saw me coming until it was too late. Okay, so on top of that, I just want to say thanks to all you guys. Like, I need to take a breath, like take a moment, because this was such a fun, amazing game. Like, I feel like I connected with each and every one of you in a different way. There are a few people in the game, like Ant, I never got to connect with. I wish I could have met her, but we were never on the same tribe. So I just want to say thank you. I've enjoyed this, and I really, really hope that we can stay in touch. So I'm going to go into like the little thing that I wrote really quick. So I didn't know anything about Steven Universe before coming into this game at all. But now it definitely holds a special place in my heart. I've already started watching the seasons. I've been watching them throughout this whole game. And, my character, I feel like that I relate to most is Amethyst. I did my character recreation, which I slayed. I'll give myself that credit. And Andy, you did amazing, like obviously more amazing than me, but I loved dressing up as Amethyst. I was on the Amethyst tribe, so I really felt connected to her. After my like little bit of research I did, she's known as a bit of a defective gem and who's a little less powerful than the rest, which I kind of felt coming into this game. I always underestimate myself, but I really came out like Amethyst as a strong competitor. Amethyst is loyal to her friends and family, which I was, especially to the Fusion 4, but also cutthroat when she needs to be. And I didn't shy away from making those strong strategic moves like an Amethyst really would. So I appreciate everything. I've had such a fun time. Any of these 3 people deserve the win. So I'm just excited to see what happens. But thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Andy. Give me 1 second to get to the timer. All right, Andy, you're ready. Go for it.
Gorgeous. Echoing what Morgan and Evan had said, this final 3, I adore both of you so much. I'm so proud of all 3 of us. I think no matter what happens tonight, I think everybody here played genuinely stellar, strong, well-rounded games. I know that on surface level, my game looks like I only won comps or I only found advantages or earned advantages, but I think that is such an impressive stat, even when you don't really, if you think that, if you can't, I just think you can't ignore that. Winning 4 immunities, winning 3 advantages with 3 of the 4 missions I went on, except for that fuck-ass Connections game that will still piss me off to this day because I play Connections every day. And I didn't just earn them and kind of use that to brute force my way through the game. At multiple times tonight, both Evan and Morgan have said they wish they could have taken me out. They wish they could have taken their shot, and they ultimately didn't. I, in the right time, in the right place, did what I had to do to protect myself, and it wasn't just comps. I go back to the final seven vote where Fred was shouting my name up to high heavens, and it didn't matter. I still was able to position myself and put myself in a place where I needed to be. But and we had heard people reference tonight that they wanted to take the shot at me when I had this reputation as a comp threat. I was winning stuff pre-merge. I was winning stuff really early on. Yet I threw a couple comps. I don't know if I mentioned this. I threw some comps early on in the merge. I threw the pencil endurance. I threw the scavenger hunt because I thought that lowest scores might go on the mission, and they did, which got me to play for my third advantage. I did a lot of things to mitigate that comp threat level so that way people felt comfy enough letting me get just so close to the end where I knew I could take the time and practice and work and win those comps when it counted. I know that it isn't seen as this amazing social fluid gameplay the way that Morgan and Evan both I think can hang their hat on a little bit more than me, but I'm not sitting here and saying that I social we divinied through every single vote. I think when it counted, I relied on people in this game, including Evan, including Morgan, including Trisha, including Amber. And I think that I set myself up to always be covered by one thing, whether it was an idol or whether it was a comp that I knew I could slay, or it was people in the moment promising me things because I gave them enough to trust me and keep me in their game for that right time. And I think ultimately, I was lauded as somebody that people always wanted to take a shot at, and they thought they could just do it later. And that time, that opportunity never came. And I think that makes a game that I'm really proud of. And I wouldn't change a thing. And I just hope you guys vote with your heart tonight. I think whatever you guys decide will be the right decision.
All right. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Evan and Morgan. Thank you, jury. With that, that is the end of Final Tribal. Jury, you have until 11:15 to submit your votes. If we get all the votes in earlier than that, we will have you all come back for the vote reveal whenever we have all the votes. But your deadline is 11:15. If you need to go watch anything back, the link should be for the YouTube video, I think is posted on the page. If not, go find the LCA YouTube and watch it there anyway. Watch whatever you need to watch. If you need to go back, if you forgot something, but we're gonna get off YouTube. We're gonna end it.